what do you want to talk about today? And the response I kept getting from Taylor was, I had a take on social media that went viral.
I feel like that word's getting used a little loosely these days. What does it mean to go viral, your take to go viral, Taylor?
I don't know.
So right now it has 226,000 views on Twitter.
Viral.
And Izzy, it was because I was tweeting about the Tommy Lloyd to Carolina potentially. That market has been impacted by Kalshi. People are saying it's Billy Donovan, but it's people that work for Kalshi, and they're most likely just going to dump that and try to make a quick profit off that. So I tweeted because I'm clicking on some people's profile, and it's like Carolina basketball, Alabama football. And I tweeted, if your favorite college football team is different from your favorite college basketball team, nobody respects you.
Oh, man. What a take.
Is it?
I mean, it's incredible. Yes, I've never really thought about this. Like, I guess it wasn't until I got to college that I had an official favorite college basketball team, because when I was growing up, before I got to the University of Florida, it was Duke and North Carolina, not necessarily in that order. I think I was a North Carolina fan first, and then I became a little bit of a Duke fan. But then when I got to Florida, it was just all Florida, and it was obviously Florida football too.
Right.
But you can't have one and then the other, especially if you went to one of the schools and then have a favorite program or favorite sport from another program.
So you grew up down here in Miami. Did you root for the Hurricanes as your football team growing up?
I did.
And
as
you
a
rooted,
college football team, yeah.
And you rooted, in terms of basketball, it was Carolina and Duke?
Okay. So can we put a caveat or a little detail in there?
Sure.
Under 18 doesn't count.
No, there should be caveats and there should be details here, because I agree with you. Like, you didn't have a team to root for, right. and Miami, growing up, was the best team in college football.
And they didn't have a college basketball team really to speak of.
Right.
So if they would have, probably would have paired the two.
So you go to Florida. Is there any part of you still rooting for the University of Miami or Carolina or Duke?
The second I walked on that campus, all favoritism I had toward UM disappeared.
Okay.
Much like Izzy, I grew up both a USC football fan and a UNC basketball fan. Then I turned 10.
Yeah, you got to make a choice at some point. That's probably about the time, because, I would say when I'm 15, 16 years old, like, I was a UM basketball fan, but I definitely still had a split. I'm sorry, UM football fan, but I definitely had a split with basketball. But I wasn't like a diehard. If there was social media back then, I wouldn't say UM's my football team and Carolina's my basketball team. I would just mention the football team.
Mm-hmm. So help me. At least you weren't front running, rooting for those two teams, Carolina and Duke. I mean, but help me out here. So once you get,
what kid is going to go for a bunch of losers?
You're right. Well, me and Mikey.
There you go.
And that's about it. And all Jet fans. But help me out here. So you're a UM fan. They give you some great moments growing up. Do you blame a kid if he's from Miami, goes to the University of Florida, and still is a Miami Hurricane football fan?
You mean like Udonis Haslem, for example?
I had no idea.
Famously went to the University of Florida and remains a University of Miami fan. No, I don't hate that, because, frankly, I mean, he went there to do a job. He went there to get himself ready for the NBA.
Right.
For me, no, I don't blame people. I mean, your home is your home. If that, stays truer to who you are, then, you can keep cheering for that.
I see the wheels turning there, Mikey. Hey, what are you thinking?
I'm just trying to think if I agree with it or not, because I don't know that I have that. I think I'm a fan of a different college basketball team than I am a different college football team.
Yeah, but so here's the difference.
Nobody respects me anyway.
Right. I went to Clark University. It's a D3 school. There's no reason to root for either of their teams. And so you guys are saying, when I'm at Clark University, I can't root for the University of Miami football program and the Carolina basketball program?
Well, Taylor has to rule here.
Well, correct. That is correct.
What do you mean that is correct? Not all of us went to North Carolina.
So nobody is blaming you for going to Clark University.
Right.
If you want to go to Clark University and get your degree, fine. If you're a Duke basketball fan, fine. The problem is in the fall, you can't turn around and be like, I'm a Texas Longhorns football fan. You're a Duke football fan.
Why, though?
Get ready to learn Manny Diaz football, buddy.
I think it's true you can't claim another team. Like, I'm not going to put North Carolina basketball on my Twitter bio, but if I'm just watching a game, who am I pulling for? Yeah, I can pull for North Carolina, but they're not, quote, my team.
Right.
Is that fair, Taylor?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know.
Fair.
Yeah, I mean, this is why I went viral. I mean,
What if my fandom was born out of hatred for a rival? What if I just hate Ohio State football and I just hate Duke basketball?
You could hate those schools. I just don't think you're a fan of both teams.
what Taylor is saying is there's no limit to your hatred,
Correct.
but there is a limit to the teams that you root for. That's all he's saying.
But if I naturally hate Duke, then I naturally root for North Carolina because
You could
if there's
you
anything
could
I
root
want,
for
it's-
Carolina. You're not a Carolina fan, though.
Yes.
Well, I
Okay.
mean, unless you're
All
rooting
right,
for
I-
Carolina football as well. I'm confused here because I grew up in an area where college sports wasn't that big. It just wasn't. I grew up in Long Island. They didn't have St. John's was good back in the 80s.
Agreed.
Right, and we didn't have a football team.
So you don't claim a college football program and a college basketball program as your teams. It just is what it is. You
Well,
don't do either, right?
That doesn't seem fair. I mean,
well, not that we're keeping you from doing it, but you haven't done it, right?
Well, no. I mean, no. Technically, I have not. No.
Okay. So you remain respected.
Yeah, the conundrum that
Kind
I'm
of.
running into right now is the people that are saying, what if I root for a basketball school that doesn't have a football team? And they kind of checkmated me there because I don't really have that good of an answer. If you're, say, a Gonzaga basketball fan or a DePaul basketball fan, and those schools don't have a football team,
Yes.
Yeah, stick to the pros.
It's called a loophole. Yes.
Stick to the pros. You don't have to have a college football team. Just just whatever team tickles your fancy at any given time. It actually gives you the chance to be a fair weather fan. But again, you can't claim them as your team. You can just enjoy them quietly.
Is this better or worse than those who are a fan of one city's football team in the pros and a different city's basketball? Especially, so in Connecticut, I run into this a lot. There are people who are Giants fans
Right.
and Celtics fans. You can't be New York and Boston fans. You
Yeah.
can't be those two things. They naturally hate each other.
But that's split in half, right? If you're in southern Connecticut, chances are you're rooting for the Knicks. Northern Connecticut, you're rooting for Boston, right?
That's like saying all Long Islanders are either Mets or Jets and Giants and Yankees. It doesn't really fit.
I think it depends on how you were raised as a pro. If you were properly raised to not be a hater, then you should be the fan of where you grew up. Like, if
I
you were
was awfully
properly raised
then.
not to be a hater, because that's what a lot of these young kids these days, even like my nephew of mine or whatever, he hates UM. He grew up around UM. UM was wildly successful while
Right.
he was growing up. Just hates them just because.
That's an odd team to hate, man. That's a team he should have gotten behind. I mean, yeah, Taylor.
pro sports, Mikey, is a lot trickier, and it's just waters I'm not prepared to wade into right now
Right.
with my takes. So that's why I kind of planted my flag as the college guy,
Right.
where I have UConn fans who are trying to celebrate their Final Four and being like, what do you mean I can't root for Michigan football in the fall? I'm like, nope, sorry, man. Your best football player at your school, Dan Orlovsky.
Especially if they went to UConn. Like, I don't care if UConn has a poor football program. If you went to UConn, you cannot claim Ohio State. It's just not possible.
I mean,
Izzy, that's. I mean, if you went to a school that has D1 programs, like all bets are off. You have to be a fan of that school. I'm talking like for Stugotz, for me, who went to schools that don't really have programs like that.
What's the nearest big program to your respective schools?
Clark University, I don't know, probably Holy Cross.
I said big. Just because it has holy in the title does
Boston
not make
College,
it big.
maybe?
BC, Syracuse, I mean.
All right, you should have been a Syracuse fan.
No, I was a St. John's fan
There
growing
you go.
up. I mean,
That's not bad. But
St.
yeah.
John's? Does St. John's have football?
no. And then I went to Clark University, and I played lacrosse there, and they barely had a lacrosse team. I mean, so I didn't know
I
who to
think
root
for me it was Rutgers.
Dan Byer, you're a perfect person to ask here. You went to Wisconsin. You love Ohio State, I am told. How do you feel about Taylor's viral take?
I'll tell you, touchy. You know, Mikey hitting where it hurts, but I feel it's the longevity of it. So I grew up in the state of Wisconsin, but I've been an Ohio State fan since the mid 1980s. Keith Byers, Jim Carsados, those guys. And so if you're there long enough as a kid or whatever, I have no problem with, as long as you've had the longevity of it. I don't like the jumping ship of, I like this team for this time, then I like that team, now I like this team. So if you have
So
longevity.
you were just improperly raised in Wisconsin because they allowed you to become an Ohio State fan.
Well, no, and I'm also wondering what Dan would do when Wisconsin played Ohio State in football. Did you want to fit in or did you fit out? Like,
no, I went to 2 football games the entire time I was there. One of them was the Ohio State game. So because there would be some conflicts at times. When I was a junior in high school in 1993, all of my friends became Badger fans because all of a sudden Wisconsin was good. Barry Alvarez turned this team around. Ohio State hadn't been to a Rose Bowl in 8 or 9 years, and they were both battling for it. And then Wisconsin ended up going, which absolutely crushed me, which made me say, well, I'm never going to cheer for them, even if I go to school there, which was a lot cheaper, by the way, and it's a good school. So I just kept who I was.
Yes, all right.
The only follow-up question I have, Dan.
Yeah.
So you root for Ohio State basketball and Ohio State football?
Yeah, I watch both, yes.
Yep. Then absolutely no problem. Right. I don't think a piece of paper tells you what school you should root for. It's what teams you're fandom of. So I have no problem with Dan Byer.
Does.
I have no problem with Dan Byer going to Wisconsin and being an Ohio State fan. My problem would have been if he was like, I'm a Wisconsin basketball fan and an Ohio State football fan. But we don't have that here.
I mean, Dan's got some stones. I would have showed up to those games wearing Wisconsin gear, secretly rooting for Ohio State.
You have to stay strong in these situations. Like, as a Gators fan, we had our down moments, and here I am living in South Florida when UM is, I guess, coming back. And, there's a lot of people around me supporting them. My own family supports UM. My sister went through their nursing program, and I'm still sitting here supporting UF, hating on UM at all times, even though the pressure's on to pick up that allegiance. I'm not going to do it.
Right.
I'm not going to do it.
You stuck with Ohio State. I mean, that's a good job sticking with your team. I mean,
Yeah,
it turned
thank
out,
you.
yes.
It did work out. I feel
It worked
a little
out well
guilty.
for you, yes.
Yeah, but nobody remembers like Liberty Bowls against Air Force. Or watching those games or the Hall of Fame games that you'd have to play against Syracuse or other schools when nothing was happening. But yeah, it's been pretty good for the last 30 years.
Loved a good Liberty Bowl.
Yeah, who doesn't, right? Right?
BYU's always in it, right?
Except when you lose to Air Force. That's the only problem.
Izzy, much like the 72 Dolphins who pop open a bottle of champagne every time the last undefeated team in the NFL finally loses a game, we have to play some sound here because, Taylor, entering last night's play, how many teams were undefeated in Major League Baseball?
There were 5 teams undefeated in the MLB. The Dodgers, the Yankees, the Brewers, the Blue Jays, and the Marlins.
Yes.
One of the hottest teams in baseball.
What?
Yeah. But, Izzy, they all went into yesterday undefeated. They all lost yesterday.
All right, so let's all drink some champagne here, courtesy of one Mike Francesa, the Pope.
Hot tea.
Yes.
Nick in New Jersey. What's up, Nick?
Hey, Mike. I was just wondering with the Yankees and just baseball in general, do you ever see a team going undefeated in the regular season, that being as dominant as the Pats and the Dolphins, where they run the table?
162-0?
Yeah, like a team being that dominant. Do you think that could happen in baseball?
Yeah, you're not serious, are you?
No, like we've seen.
So wait a second. Have you seen anybody come close to 162-0?
Well, didn't the Yankees that one year come 120? And
Wait. The Yankees didn't win 120. They won 111 in the regular season.
But still, they're only 50 games away.
50, not a game, 50 games away.
Yeah, but they had 110 wins. They were good, but they weren't as dominant as the Patriots or other teams that have running the table.
So you think a team that you're comparing winning 16 games to winning 162?
Well, obviously football has less games. They couldn't have won more games.
The football has less games, really?
Yeah.
You think they have less games?
No, well, I know football.
Right, so they have 16.
16.
Right, and the others have 106. So you think a team could go 162-0?
If they were that dominant, yes.
You do.
They had like Harvey.
Right, so you think that
prime,
right? Because the best team of all the best team of all time. I don't know what team you consider the best team of all time. What team do you consider the best baseball team of all time?
Maybe that Murderers Row Yankees team.
Okay, now what do you think? Now that team played a 154 game schedule. How many games do you think they won?
Oh, I don't know. Maybe.
How many games think they
90?
lost, though?
How many do you think they lost?
Yeah.
Maybe. Probably 40.
Right. So how would you get from 40 to 0?
Well, they would need to be a lot better, obviously.
Let me know when it happens, okay? Because I want to, watch.
How would he know?
I give up. Okay. I'm telling you, folks. John in Breezy Point. What's up, John?
Hi, Mike.
What's happening?
What mental asylum
I have
is
no
that guy
idea. I have no
calling from?
I have no idea.
Well, Taylor, this doesn't really. I mean, the caller still has a point because right now these teams only have one loss. So if they win the rest of their games, they will have gotten close.
Yes, very close.
They
The
just have to be
closest
a lot
anyone's
better,
ever come.
yeah.
Yeah.
I think we should celebrate when they get to about 20 losses. They'll be like, okay.
The sneaky best part of that call is the caller just sliding in Matt Harvey.
I didn't even notice that.
That shows how long ago it was because Matt
Yes.
Harvey hasn't been dominant in about 12 years.
Fake ace.
But he snuck it in.